Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dara Wheeler, and I am the Chief of Research, Innovation, and System Information at Caltrans. Thank you for joining us for the relaunch of the Research Connection events. Caltrans is currently conducting 287 research projects in a variety of focus areas, and our Research Connection events provide a forum for the researchers, practitioners, and stakeholders to learn about recently completed research. Our goal is to have Research Connections events presented quarterly. The research findings presented can be implemented by Caltrans staff and also by external stakeholders. And it's our hope that the implementation could yield a great return on investment. For information on upcoming Research Connection events, please visit our Research Connection page at the Caltrans website, www.dot.ca.gov, or contact drysi.communications@dot.ca.gov. I will now turn it over to Kayo Lau, the Research Project Manager, who will go over some housekeeping items and introduce our speaker, Dr. Bruce Appleyard. Kayo.
Thank you, Dara, and thank you to our audiovisual team for helping us broadcast today's webcast. Today's presentation will highlight how to use the Smart Mobility Calculator with the Livability Calculator, how the calculators and metrics can be used to meet requirements of Caltrans Corridor Planning Initiative and Smart Mobility Framework, how metrics such as vehicles, miles, travel, per capita are displayed in the Smart Mobility Calculator, can be used for SB 743 analysis, which replaces level of service, a new topology plate based on Caltrans Smart Mobility Framework, and how it is integrated within the Smart Mobility Calculator. This research connection is being recorded and will be saved on our Research Connections webpage for interested viewers to watch on demand. The page is listed in the description below as part of today's agenda. The speaker will present the topic, followed by a Q&A period. If you have any questions during the presentation, please email them to drsi.communications@dot.ca.gov, and the speaker will answer them during the Q&A period. As stated on the slide, the contents of this presentation are disseminated in the interest of information exchange. The contents of this presentation reflect the views of the authors who are responsible for the facts and accuracy of the data presented herein. The contents do not necessarily reflect the official views or policies of California Department of Transportation, State of California, or the Federal Highway Administration, nor does it constitute a standard specification or regulation. It is now my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Bruce Appleyard, Associate Professor of City Planning from San Diego State University. He will present findings from his recently completed study titled Smart Mobility Calculator. Dr. Appleyard is an Associate Professor of City Planning at San Diego State University and the Assistant Director of Active Transportation Research, where he helps people and agencies make more informed decisions about how we live, work, and thrive. Working from the human to regional ecosystem scale, he is an author of numerous peer-reviewed and professional publications and is a renowned expert on urban quality, the future of transport, street livability, and designing for pedestrians and bicyclists. His expertise also extends to coordinating housing, land use, and transport to help places become more sustainable, livable, and equitable. Bruce, I will now turn it over to you to begin your presentation.
Great. Thank you so much, Kayo. And thank you so much, Dara. Thank you all for being with me this afternoon. The title of my talk is Visualizing Smart Growth and Livability using the Caltrans Smart Mobility Calculator and the TRB, Transportation Research Board Livability Calculator. On this slide, there's all kinds of ways you can get in touch with me through my email, through my website, www.bruceapplyard.com, or you can also, for more information, look at www.livabilitycalculator.com. And one thing I want to make sure that you all have access to the Smart Mobility Calculator on the website. And I think that's been sent out in emails to you before. So before I launch in, I want to give a little background. These tools that I'm talking about today build off of a multi-year national study of all transit corridors and stations throughout the country. That's 350 transit corridors and over 4,000 stations covered. This led to the development of the Handbook for Building Livable Transit Corridors, which I'll be referencing quite a bit today. The Livability Performance Metric from the Livability Calculator, and the Smart Mobility Calculator, which is the one that was developed under the grant with Caltrans. These tools are designed to help people, public agencies, and professionals make better decisions about growth and development by allowing for the exploration and understanding of urban quality throughout a community and region, and how this urban quality relates to sustainability, livability, and social equity. What are some of the uses of these tools? Well, first and foremost is Caltrans' new corridor planning process, which I'll discuss in more detail in just a minute. They can also be used for new secret regulations as per Senate Bill 743, which allows for environmental streamlining of significant developments in areas where per capita VMT is 15% or more below regional averages. They can also be used for climate action planning by showing how many pounds of carbon per household will be generated from travel in different locations in the region. It also could lead to better transportation and land use coordination. It doesn't deal just with housing. The tools and handbook that I'm talking about today don't deal just with transportation policy, but also with housing policies. So it gives people a regional perspective and puts everyone on the same page in a way that Caltrans can become ambassadors of smart growth to land use authorities. And that's really been one of my goals of this whole project. So I hope you find it interesting that you can start learning about land use policies and strategies as well as transportation strategies so that you actually can help other people understand what's needed. It also can help inform NIMBY not in my backyard conversations. By giving people access to key data, all parties can better understand why development should occur in transit, bike, walk accessible areas. These tools also provide a TOD atlas, and the atlas of all the train stations in California can help people see where they are in relation to these stations, and also shows how these stations are rated by performance. It also shows the equity of new housing initiatives. It does this by first showing the areas that are in close proximity to transit, as well as the location of transit of disadvantaged communities as per Senate Bill 535. This is key to then informing professionals of policies they should undertake, such as anti-displacement strategies. So let's talk about the new corridor planning requirements as per the corridor planning process guide. In it, it states that you need to identify the corridors by considering origin and destination, along with land use and place types, to address multimodal transportation opportunities through a comprehensive, cooperative, and continuing planning process. Now, what I'm showing here is the 8-step process laid out in the corridor planning process guide. And we could really, we can actually see them as underlying two headings. One is problem understanding, and the other is problem solving. So the first one we're going to deal with is, we're going to tackle first is problem understanding. So you can scope the effort, gather information, conduct the baseline performance assessment. What's important to note is that the 8-step process laid out in the corridor planning process guide is very similar to the Handbook for Building Livable Transit Corridors transit corridor method, which it talks about initiating the project, assessing the corridor, identifying goals, developing a vision, and then implementing the vision. This is another example. This is another illustration of the same 5-step process, which again, we can see as problem understanding in the beginning and then problem solving, where you would select livability metrics, apply metrics to the corridor, identify opportunities and constraints, and then start working on different scenarios. And this will be key to when we talk about the livability calculator soon. Now, we're going to talk about the Smart Mobility Calculator, and I'm going to take you through a demonstration of how to use it. So hopefully you've had access to that that web link that's on top of my screen. So you can actually open it up. What's going to happen when you first open the calculator up is that you're given a series of urban counties to choose from. And what we do is we select San Diego County as that's been the test county from the beginning. So when you first open up the calculator, it gives you the selection of different urban counties of the region. So select San Diego County. And when the first layer that shows up is VMT per capita as per Caltrans' own VMT numbers. And as you hover select, you can see that the numbers on the right change, giving you a sense of how far above or below you are to the regional average. And again, this is really important for Senate Bill 743 regulations on CEQA. So you can see that the cool green and blue areas are low VMT. The yellow, orange, and red are much higher VMT and a much higher range above the regional average. On the left side, you have a toolbar. On the right side, you have a dashboard. I'm going to play this video that's going to walk through the how to use the calculator. So I'll just play it right now, and then we'll see you at the other side. Welcome to this demonstration of the Smart Mobility tool. When you first open up the Smart Mobility tool, it asks you to select a region from part of the state. Let's use San Diego County as that's been the test area from the beginning. The first layer that shows up is vehicle miles traveled per capita. The cool areas show areas of low VMT relative to the region. The red, orange, and yellow show those that are higher. Orange and yellow show VMT in relation to the region. As you hover select over your areas of interest, you see on the right-hand side, the dashboard changes to show how your area of interest relates to the region in general. And you can see that in the cool colored areas, that VMT per capita is well below the regional average. To give you a quick orientation, you have a toolbar on the left, a dashboard on the right, and you can select different layers in this Select Urban Quality Metric toolbar. The first layer that shows up is daily vehicle miles traveled per capita. We can also look at housing affordability, daily carbon emissions per person, and other important measures of the built environment. To select an area of interest, grab the polyline tool in the left-hand toolbox, click on it, click, and double-click, and you'll select your core of interest, all the census block groups on the half mile around the line you've drawn. Once you've selected your area of interest, you can download the data with this Download Data button. This will download all the data you're interested in for this area into an Excel spreadsheet with the key urban quality metrics showing up so you can then use them. When you want to select a new area, a new quarter of interest, make sure you select the trash icon and the Clear All button so you can start it fresh. Another unique feature of the Smart Mobility tool is that it has address searching capabilities. Click on the magnifying glass on the left, fill in the address, and then zoom to your location. Hover select over your area of interest, and we can see that the addresses per capita VMT is 26% below the regional average. This is significant in terms of the new CEQA regulations under Senate Bill 743, which allows for environmental streamlining if a property is under 15% of the regional average. Another feature we've added is a place typology based on Caltrans' own Smart Mobility Framework. To view this typology, click on the legend to the left. You can also see the SMF place typology by using the second layer tool and clicking on it right at the bottom, Caltrans SMF place typology. And here you can see how the lend index was used to create the SMF place typology. Through this selection button, you can also turn the place typology off. You can turn the urban quality metrics, the livability attributes off. And now you can really see the station TOD catchment areas within a half mile that are graded for the entire state of California. Green is highest performing, red is lowest performing. You can also turn on and off the disadvantaged communities layer, which is important to understand. This is based on SB 535, and it's important for taking measures against displacement and gentrification displacement. I hope you've enjoyed this demonstration of the Caltrans Smart Mobility tool, a tool designed to help people, public agencies, and professionals make better decisions about growth and development by allowing them to explore and understand urban quality throughout a community and region, and how this urban quality relates to sustainability, livability, and social equity. Okay, so I hope you all got a chance to see how to use the Smart Mobility Calculator. We have it. We have all the major metropolitan counties in the state covered, so it should be useful to many of you in your corridor planning efforts. Now, before we start going into the livability calculator, we're going to take a little step back. And by the way, I'd be happy to look at the Smart Mobility Calculator during the Q&A session if you have more questions. Let's talk a little bit about some of the background before the livability calculator before we go further. Back in 2009, there was a partnership for sustainable communities between HUD, USDOT, and EPA, and they came up with 6 livability principles. They were things like provide more transportation choices, promote equitable and affordable housing, enhance economic competitiveness, and so on. Really, they were principles about smart growth. So when we were working on the livability calculator, what we did was we operationalized these principles. So providing more transportation choices became high quality transit, walking, and bicycling opportunities, and equitable and affordable housing near transit, and so on. And it's important to recognize that these operationalized principles and these livability principles were developed around the same time that the Caltrans Smart Mobility Framework was being developed. And there's a resonance between these. So reliable mobility, social equity, robust economy, location efficiency, environmental stewardship, health and safety, all very much speak to these 6 principles. And what we did in the livability calculator was we actually operationalized the principles around this radar graphic. And we'll be talking more about this in a minute. But you can see the operationalized principles on each point of this radar graphic. Building off these principles, we then identified 2 metrics for each principle that we could use to then operationalize and assess performance. So high quality transit, walking, and bicycling opportunities was determined by employment within a 45-minute transit commute. The aggregate frequency of transit service per square mile, and the percent of income spent for housing. So I don't need to go through this whole list, but you get the point. These are all the different metrics that we used. And these metrics were things like regional accessibility, housing affordability, socioeconomic diversity, vehicle miles traveled, access to jobs, affordable housing, shopping and services, and street safety, livability, and walkability. Now, in my presentation on the Smart Mobility Calculator, I touched on on developing the place typology based off of the Smart Mobility Framework. And we've geolocated that in all the major metropolitan counties in the state of California. So you can use this, as you recall in the Caltrans process planning guide, that you're supposed to look at the place types along your corridors. So now we've provided that in the calculator itself. And just a little bit of a note on it, here's the matrix from the Smart Mobility Framework, where you have strong regional accessibility on the horizontal axis and strong community design on the vertical axis. The idea is to get into this upper right quadrant with your development. And the idea and the goal from the beginning of the Smart Mobility Framework has been to move from suburban to urban places. So, and you're really talking about a migration and processes that are not just transportation related, but actually land use related, land use and housing related. And so our handbook for building livable transit corridors provides a lot of those strategies that are above and beyond just transportation strategies. And if you're really going to migrate a place, a suburban place, to be an urban place, it's going to take those land use and housing policies to make it happen. And this makes a difference. We looked at all the VMT in San Diego, and we looked at it by place type and found that there's a demonstrable difference in terms of urban places versus suburban places in terms of their VMT. So the VMT, the place typology, does make a difference. And just to show how it makes a difference even further, when you compare urban versus suburban places, here's some of the things we find. We find that household costs in an urban place is about 13% of a suburban place. So it's capturing some sort of amenity value. But the household transportation costs are much lower. They're actually down to about $2,500. So there's a savings already if you're living in an urban place. Your median commute distance is cut more than half by 66%. And so you're saving about, your commute is cut down by about 5.6 miles. Even your obesity rates, we found that even the obesity rates are down about 8%. And even in vehicle miles driven annually, it's down almost 6,000 miles. Or that's savings of about it's savings of almost 3 tons of carbon. We also developed a place typology based on all the stations and all the corridors. And we developed this place typology where the lowest performing is emerging, the mid-level performing is transitioning, and the highest performing is integrated. And we created this TOD atlas for the entire state of California that you can access through the Smart Mobility Calculator. And again, these place typologies make a difference. When you compare the poorest performing to the best performing, we find similar patterns where the household costs might be more in the integrated communities and corridors, but the household transportation costs are down quite a bit. So in this case, it's savings of $2,700 a year. The median commute distance is cut more than half again, down 6 miles. The obesity rates are cut by 5%. And the median and the vehicle miles driven annually, it's over 6,000 miles a year, or about 3 tons of carbon savings. So it shows that this place typology makes a difference as well. On the corridor level, we find that when you get the comparison between the poorly performing emerging corridors and the best performing integrating corridors, that we have 4 times as many transit trips and 4 times as many transit, walking, and bicycling trips, and 50% more destinations within their corridor. So there's a greater internal capture rate. Now let's go back to the corridor process planning guide. So we first talked about problem understanding. Now we can talk about problem solving, where we can identify potential strategies and analyze the improvement strategies and select and prioritize solutions going forward. Now, to use the Livability Calculator, it's just to give you an overview, it has 5 key worksheets. One is the One is for inputs, where you put in the FIPS codes for the area of interest, and I'll show you how to get those in a second from the Smart Mobility Calculator. And then it goes to problem understanding, where you look at your metrics and you're analyzing your corridor's performance, which is actually then shown in the corridor plot in the livability performance graphic. Once we've gone through problem understanding, we can go to problem solving, where we actually can then look at different policies and solutions and strategies that we want to explore even further, which then link directly from the handbook for building livable transit corridors. So what I'm going to do is take you through the process of actually then selecting a corridor, gathering the information, and then downloading the information into your livability calculator. So you should see me working with the calculator right now. And I'm going to draw a line along the I-8 corridor. As this will be our test corridor. Download the data. And those first columns are the FIPS codes for each of the census block groups. So you select them, copy them, open your calculator to the input sheet. You then clear the inputs. You select the top row. Your FIPS codes, your block group IDs into that column. You format it, and then you could view things on your metric scores. So we inputted the data into the input data sheet. We formatted the inputs, and then we've got to look at the metric scores and the performance. And this sheet, the second sheet, actually then tells you how you're performing on each individual metric from these different principles. And you can see that the colored lines are actually the thresholds based on the national study that we built all of this work off of. You can also see your livability performance. It's the black line in the middle, and it shows that you're mostly in the transitioning and in the emerging, but you really want to get all into the green. You want to get everything into the green. So luckily, a later version of the calculator that I'm happy to share with you, if you're interested, just let me know, has the ability to do scenario testing. So you can see this blue line is actually where we've actually changed the metrics to see if you could actually improve your performance. And after you've judged your performance, you have the strategy selection sheet. And this sheet works by showing you how you're performing in each individual metric and gives you the option to pick any of these strategies you might be interested in. Things like jobs, housing alignment, activity center master plans, regional competitiveness, complete streets policies, last mile shuttles, pedestrian and bicycle network maintenance. So, and after you've selected the strategies that you're interested in, you can then go to the strategy summary sheet, and there's a hyperlink in all these sheets of the metrics and the strategies you've chosen, that if you select it, it then opens up to the page in the handbook that talks about that particular strategy. So this is a really good way for you to get some really good, quick information on different strategies you could work on. And if you're writing up a report or something like that, where you have to examine a corridor, you can then use this tool to give you access and links to all kinds of strategies that you can then explore. Just to let you know, this works if you've got both the livability calculator and the handbook in the same folder. And if you have any trouble in the PDF, you might need to just take the page number that's in the hyperlink and put it up in this part of the bar. So wrapping it up, and I'm happy to go through the use of the Smart Mobility and Livability Calculator when we go through the Q&A session. But just sort of wrapping it up, there's a lot of different strategies in the handbook for building livable transit corridors that you might really use going forward, such as interjurisdictional cooperation and community engagement. Also talking about regional connectivity, we can talk about connected network planning. And again, these are all in the handbook for building livable transit corridors. Circuitous route retrofits, last mile shuttles, complete streets, pedestrian and bicycle networks, and a whole host of non-transportation strategies that, again, you can become the ambassadors to smart growth, working with local land use authorities and get some more knowledge and share with them knowledge about all these different strategies that they could be implementing, such as network connectivity, compact development, form-based codes, affordable housing programs, anti-displacement policies, job training and placement programs, activity centers with retail and government services, and so forth. So again, in closing, I really appreciate all your time. Again, what you can be is an ambassador for complete corridors that not only thinking about rather than thinking about just one corridor, thinking about a whole series of corridors that you can, that a corridor is not just an isolated TOD, it's really a collection of some of all its parts. And all these strategies, all these land use strategies, as well as just transportation strategies, can be accessed by the handbook, through the handbook for building livable transit corridors, so you can be an ambassador for complete corridors. And with that, I say thank you. I appreciate your time and happy to answer any of your questions, and going back, and we can even go back and work with some of these tools if that's helpful.
Thank you very much, Bruce. We appreciate the presentation. And just a reminder, if you have any questions for Bruce, please email them to drsi.communications@dot.ca.gov. And Bruce, are you ready to begin the Q&A portion of the event right now?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a little bit of time. The presentation doesn't end until 3 o'clock. So we have 4 questions that came in. The first question is, I would like to know when RIV and SPD data will be made available in the Smart Mobility Calculator. Currently, it is not available, but the project description states that while the prototype only include a few counties, they already have the data for all of California and the US. So I'd like to know when this can be made available for our usage.
I'm sorry, which data?
They wanted to know RIV and SPD data will be made available in the Smart Mobility Calculator. I'm not sure what that is. They said that it's currently not available. However, the project description states that while the prototype included a few counties, they already have the data for all of California and the US. So they'll like to know when this can be made available for their usage.
Well, all the data that's in the calculator can be downloaded through the download data button. So it wasn't clear to me the SPD data.
Yeah, RIV and SPD data.
I'm not sure what that is. What data that is.
We were. I'm not sure what that is either.
Okay, well maybe we'll get another question yeah, we'll move on for now, but we'll probably go back and clarify that.
Okay. So we have about, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more questions to go. So the next question is, what are the data sources? Are they documented along with the methods for calculations? And what is the frequency of data updates?
On the smart mobility calculator or the well, the smart mobility calculator. Yeah, there should be data data sources on the drop down for all the smart mobility calculator data. And
what is the frequency of data updates?
I'm sorry, what's that?
And they ask, what is the frequency of data updates?
Well, we're it's hard to tell when when the next project gets funded. So the next when we get a grant to fund us to update the data, it's going to be dependent on that.
And then the next question is, what does rural area do to develop qualities of an urban location while maintaining the rural context?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. I think that the handbook for building livable transit corridors can actually give you some good information about what sort of things you can do to help a rural area. So things like walkability, biking and walking facilities, circuitous route retrofits, uh, um, there's a lot of strategies I would recommend looking at in the handbook for building livable transit corridors.
And then the next question is, Caltrans has identified equity as a top priority for the department, acknowledging that the state's transportation system plays a part in disparities within communities. Do you foresee that the Smart Mobility Calculator being used as a tool to address equity in California? And can the calculator tool be modified to add criteria to address equity?
Yes, I think that it definitely can be used to address equity concerns in California, especially with the location of disadvantaged communities shown here in the hatch markings there. And we could actually modify the calculator to add more data about equity. So I think the biggest thing that we have right now is the disadvantaged communities layer, which can help you show you right off the bat when you're working with the corridor where you can actually where the disadvantaged communities are located. And I think we could actually add more. We definitely add more data.
Okay, and then the next question is there a potential for additional predictive models to be incorporated into the visual interface?
Yeah, there's definitely the chance to do that.
I think I probably skipped this question.
What's that?
What data was used to inform the smart growth calculator? Can the calculator be easily updated with new data? I think I probably might have skipped this question.
Yeah, we can definitely update it with new data.
Okay.
And in the project description, it has information on the sources of the data. So a lot of it comes from HUD, Smart Locations Data Mapping Dataset, and the HUD, the EPA Smart Locations Mapping Dataset, and the HUD Location Affordability Index. So those are the two key sources of data. And we've used Caltrans' own numbers for the VMT. So those are our main data sources. I just want to get back to that question.
Okay. And then there's another question. Have you worked with other agencies who have used this tool? And do you have any case studies?
Well, we had a nice meeting between Caltrans, Sandag, and trying to use it. So and just rolling out the tool, but we haven't had other case studies where it's been used yet. So I'm actually very interested to learn of new case studies. If you want to start using it, and then keep me in the loop, that would be great.
And then there's another question that came in. There are not maps for District 6 Caltrans, which is Fresno and Bakersfield. When will maps for District 6 be available?
Well, again, that goes back to we can actually work on it. That goes back to funding. So if I can get some more funding, we can make that happen.
And then there's another question. I believe this is the last questions for now, but can you explain what the circles are again?
Oh, those circles are areas within a half mile of a train station. So the let me just so you can really see it. So they're a half mile within around train stations. So all the train stations in the state of California are mapped out in the Smart Mobility Calculator, and it's the half mile catchment area around the station itself. And they're rated on performance. So it's red is lowest performing, yellow is mid range, and green is highest performing. And you can turn those on and off over here in this layer button.
So we still have a little bit more, about 15 more minutes, a little bit more over 15 more minutes left. If you guys have any questions, please email it again to drsi.communications@dot.ca.gov.
I hope those of you who are interested in using the tool were able to access it.
So Bruce, I have another question that came in.
Sure.
Could you please talk a little bit more about your scenario tool?
The scenario tool. So the scenario, a new version of the calculator actually has scenario planning capabilities. So if you'd like me to send it to you, just let me know. But what you do is you can then it's like a dial on all these different measures of the built environment. So, for example, here you have 78 intersections in a square mile. You can change it to 140, and you've got 4.38 pedestrian collisions per 100,000 pedestrians. If you get that down to 2, then you could actually change the scenario, change your performance profile. So that's a new feature in the livability calculator. If you'd like me to send it to you, just send me an email and I'll follow up. But then you can see how you can move your dial from being tight and constrained. You actually move yourself into becoming an integrated corridor, or any place of interest, really. Hope that answers your question.
Okay. So we have another question. We have actually two more questions that came in also too. The next question is this too robust for the California Central Valley and mountain counties like San Juan King County, Stanislaus County, Amador County, etc.?
Yeah, the livability calculator can be used anywhere in California. The smart mobility calculator, we need to put in the extra counties. So I'd be happy to do that. So is it robust enough? Yes, it's robust enough for it. So it's just a matter of time getting resources and funding. We could do the other counties. But you can use the livability calculator right away. And the FIPS codes, getting the FIPS codes is, this basically shows the FIPS codes right here. So they're just 11 or 12 different digit, for California, it's 11 digits, but it's something you should be able to find in the census tract resource. But yeah, you could use that anywhere then. Are there more questions?
Yes, we have actually three more. Have you thought about how Caltrans can better align the information that is collected from the Smart Mobility Calculator, NCST green prints, and the recently updated Healthy Mobility Options tool?
No, I haven't. I mean, I've thought about how Caltrans can utilize the tool in relation to the corridor planning process guide. What was the other tool you mentioned?
I believe this is probably another project, green prints and the recently updated Healthy Mobility Options tools.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Healthy Mobility Action Tool, but I should take a look at it because it sounds like that's how this could be aligned with that.
And then the next question is, which district does the tool have data for? This question is for, I'm sorry. Do you assume a constant emission rate?
I guess we do assume a constant emission rate when we come up with some of our. I mean, basically, we're using Caltrans VMT numbers. So for the smart mobility tool, I imagine you're talking about our carbon emissions rate. So it is assuming a constant emission rate. Are there any other questions?
So far, no more questions for now. Again, we have a little bit more time till 3 o'clock, so it's only 2:49 right now. So if you guys have any more questions, please email it to the drsi.communications@dot.ca.gov.
So is it healthy? What was the name of the tool again? Kayo?
Are you talking about the one about the reprints and the Healthy Mobility Options tool?
Yeah, the Healthy Mobility Action Tool.
Options. It says Healthy Mobility Options tool. I'm not sure what that is.
Okay. Yeah, but it sounds like something that would be good to work together on this smart mobility calculator tool. Thanks for bringing that up, by the way.
No problem. Somebody sent in their questions. So I have another question that came in. This one says, it would be interesting to use this framework to do sketch level predictions of the effects of transportation projects on key performance indicators. Have you given any thought to how this could be accomplished?
Oh, I think in terms of, can you read that again? I'm sorry, Kayo.
Yeah, it would be interesting to use this framework to do sketch level predictions of the effects of transportation projects on key performance indicators. Have you given any thought to how this could be accomplished?
Oh yeah, no, I think that this could really be used for sketch level planning and prediction tools. So yeah, I put a lot of thought into this. So with the VMT per capita, you could use that as sort of a beginning for sketch level planning. And I think we could actually, I think developing a good prediction tool could be really something that comes out of using the smart mobility calculator.
So we don't have any questions right now. Again, you could email it to drsi.communications@dot.ca.gov, and Bruce would be happy to answer questions. We have a little bit over, it's only 2:52 right now, so we have until 3 o'clock to answer this. Did you want to give it another minute or two? And
yeah, sure. To see if someone else has any questions.
Another question came in. What are similarities or differences between Smart Mobility Calculator and the OPR's site check?
The smart mobility calculator and what? I'm sorry.
And the OPR's site check.
OPRs?
Yeah,
Life.
OPR's site.
Yeah, no, I'm not familiar with that tool. So I can't really say. And it's OPR's life check?
OPR's site check. SITE check.
Oh, site check.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm not familiar with that tool, so I'm not really sure. I hope everyone was able to get access to the tool and work with it.
So I have another question that came in.
Sure.
It says, input for the tool dashboard. Does it include VMT numbers generated from freight and DR? I'm not sure what that is. Drayage of not, but drayage, DRAYAGE of not.
Well, the VMT is from Caltrans' numbers, so it's not necessarily broken out by freight. Would that be an interesting thing to use? I've got a question for some people. What uses do you see you using the calculator for? How do you?
So going back to one other question about the similarities and differences between a smart mobility calculator and OPR site check. I just want to state that the OPR site check stands for Governor's Office of Planning and Research site check.
Right. Right. Yeah, no, I'm not familiar with that tool, so I can't really speak to it. But I know that OPR is interested in using this tool because it talks about VMT per capita that can be used for Senate Bill 743 analysis. So I'm interested, anyone out there, what do you see the uses for this tool?
So we have a little bit more than about 4 minutes left for any questions that you guys might want to email. So we have one more question that came in, Bruce.
Okay.
Actually, this is more like I guess maybe more like a response to you.
Okay, good.
It could be useful for screening grant applications and assisting with funding decisions in transit and local assistance.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds great. So screening grant applications and assistance in local decisions. Yeah, thank you for offering that feedback. Any other things people can use these tools for?
Yeah, I think that's it for most of the questions and
Okay.
the
Well, thank you,
responses.
everybody.
So, yeah. So I guess we could end this again. Thank you again, Bruce, for your presentation today. Just a reminder that the recording and slides will be posted on the Research Connections page, which is on our DRSI Research Connections page. And thank you everyone for joining us, and have a great afternoon. Thank you guys for tuning in today.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.